Welcome, my dear students, in Delta Poetry channel. Today, with you, Miss Yasmina Abdelmonem, and I'm going to present to you a poem entitled Daffodils. It's written by William Wordsworth. And now, let's know who is the poet who wrote this poem. مين هو الشاعر اللي كتب هذه القصيدة. This poet is William Wordsworth. طيب مين هو William Wordsworth? He was the first great poet of the Romantic period. He was born in Cumberland, England, and educated at Hawkshead School, where he was allowed to roam the countryside and come close to the life of country people. This early and continuous contact with nature influenced his poetry very much. And now let's move to the reading of the poem. Remember that this poem is entitled Daffodils, or I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw at glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet couldn't but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. When on my couch I lie in vacant or impulsive mood, they flash upon that word I, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. This poem is entitled Daffodils, or I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. يعني اسم القصيدة دي Daffodils، أو اسمها إيه برضه I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. طبعا إيه هي الدافودلز؟ Daffodils is a kind of flowers، نوع من أنواع الفlowers. The poem Daffodils is also known by the title I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. It's a lyrical poem written by William Wordsworth. طبعا الشاعر اللي كتب هذه القصيدة is William Wordsworth. It's one of the most popular poems of the Romantic age, unfolding the poet's excitement, love, and praise for a field blossoming with daffodils. يعني القصيدة دي اتكتبت في العصر الرومانسي، كانت بتجسد حب الشاعر للطبيعة وحبه لتجسيد هذه العناصر في شعره. Daffodils, or I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud poem. William Wordsworth wrote Daffodils on a stormy day in spring. He imagined that the daffodils were dancing and invoking him to join and enjoy the breezy nature of fields. The poem contains 6 lines in 4 stanzas as an appreciation of daffodils. طبعا الكاتب كتب هذه القصيدة قلنا متأثرا بالطبيعة. هو تخيل ان الدافودلز، ظهور الدافودلز قدامه بترقص وكأنها بتستمتع بالنسيم في الطبيعة. So he began to write this poem. This poem contains 6 lines، يعني بتتكون من كل stanza فيها حوالي 6 lines as an appreciation of daffodils. Now let's move to the first stanza. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. الكاتب هنا بيقول لنا ان هو في بداية القصيدة ان هو بيتحرك بمفرده او يسير بمفرده مثل السحابة اللي بتبقى مفردة في السماء، يطفو فوق التلال والوديان. and suddenly he saw a crowd، وفجأة يجد ازدحاما، يا ترى من ايه؟ of a group or of a host of golden daffodils، من أزهار النرجس، beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. They are near the lake، هما كانوا بجانب البحيرة، beneath the trees، تحت الأشجار، fluttering and dancing in the breeze، يرقصون ويتمايلون مع هواء النسيم. Let's paraphrase these lines. طبعا the first question in the poem: how can you paraphrase the lines of the stanza? So, as we try to paraphrase these lines, at the beginning of the poem, the poet is walking with no important place to go. يعني الشاعر كان ماشي كأنه بلا هدف ومش عارف هو رايح في أي مكان. He feels lonely like a cloud that moves over valleys and hills. هو يشعر أنه وحيدا مثل السحابة التي تتحرك فوق الوديان. He feels far away from everything and everybody. Suddenly he sees thousands of daffodils growing beside the lake and under the trees. فجأة بيلاقي قدامه مجموعة كبيرة من زهور النرجس التي تنمو بالقرب من البحيرة وتحت الأشجار. The breeze makes the daffodils move from side to side as if they were dancing. يعني الهواء أو النسيم بتاع الطبيعة بيجعل زهور النرجس تتحرك من جانب إلى آخر كما كانت ترقص. Okay. The second question in this stanza: how can we elicit the figures of speech, or what are the figures of speech in this poem? We have here alliteration. As we said in the first term, what's the meaning of alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of the same sound, at the beginning of the words. As I say, that floats on high over vales and hills. So we have here alliteration in high and hills. Beside the lake, beneath the trees. We have also alliteration in beside and beneath. So they have the same beginning, or the first beginning of the consonant B in beside and beneath, and in high and hills. In stanza 1 we also have simile. What's the meaning of the word simile? Simile اللي هو التشبيه. When you compare something to another thing، يعني اما بنقارن حاجة بحاجة تانية لكن بنستخدم as or like. When I say I wandered lonely as a cloud, the poet here compares himself to the cloud، بيقارن نفسه بالسحابة ان هو وحيدا مثل السحابة. So we have here comparison or using as of the speaker's solitariness to that of a cloud. We also have personification. What's the meaning of personification? To personify something، يعني ان انا بجعل حاجة تكون شخص زي الشخص بالظبط in actions. When I say fluttering and dancing in the breeze, So the poet here personifies the daffodils as humans or who are dancing. الشاعر هنا بيشخص ظهور الدافودلز إن هي مثل الأشخاص التي ترقص. So when I say fluttering and dancing in the breeze, the poet here personifies the actions of the daffodils as the actions of the person. So they are dancing as persons. We also have contrast. Contrast يعني تضاد. I wandered lonely as a cloud when all at once I saw a crowd. عندي هنا a contrast between lonely and crowd. The word lonely is opposite to the word crowd. We have here another figure of speech which is contrast that floats on high over vales and hills beside the lake beneath the trees. The words over and beneath here are opposites. Let's move now to the rhyme scheme. What's the meaning of rhyme scheme? As we said, let's remember what the meaning of this word. It's the ending sound at every word. So we here, when I read this stanza, I wandered lonely as a cloud. So the ending sound here will have letter A that floats on high over vales and hills. Okay, is the ending sound here at hills, at the word hills, is similar to cloud? No, it's different. So it will have another rhyme scheme, will be letter B. When all at once I saw a crowd. Crowd is similar to cloud, so it will take A. A host of golden daffodils. The ending sound at daffodils is like the ending sound at hills, so it takes letter B. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, it's another rhyme scheme, so it will take letter C. Fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Breeze is similar to trees, so it takes letter C. So the rhyme scheme here is A, B, A, B, C, C. Now let's move to the second stanza. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw at glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. طبعا الشاعر هنا بيبدأ يقارن ما بين ظهور الدافودلز وما بين الستارز، حيث انه هو بيصف أزهار النرجس بالنجوم في السماء، وازاي الأزهار تستمر دون أن تنتهي بجانب البحيرة، أي أنها كثيرة، حيث أنه وجد عشرات الآلاف من زهور النرجس، ويصفهم أنهم رؤوسهم تتحرك كما لو كانوا يرقصون. So when we paraphrase these lines, we will say the poet describes the daffodils as the stars that shine in the sky. He says that they stretch in a very long and ending line, like the stars that light the Milky Way. Their number was so great, and they were raising and throwing their heads in lively way. What are the figures of speech in this stanza? We have here simile and continuous as a star that shine. The poet here compares the daffodils to the shining stars. يعني الشاعر هنا قارن أو شبه الدافودلز إنها زي النجوم اللامعة. We also have personification. عندي برضو تشخيص. In tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The daffodils are dancing like humans. They are also moving their heads as if they have human bodies. What is the rhyme scheme in this stanza? Continuous as the stars that shine. So shine here will have letter D. And twinkle on the Milky Way. Way is different from shine, so it will have E. They stretched a never-ending line. Line and its sound is similar to shine, so it takes D. Along the margin of a bay. Bay is like way, so it takes letter E. 10,000 saw at glance. Glance is different from bay, line, weigh, and shine, so it will have letter F. Tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Dance is like glance, so it will have letter F. So the rhyme scheme here is D, E, D, E, F, F. Now let's move to the third stanza. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. The poet here tries to do a comparison between the daffodils and the waves in the lake. يعني بيعمل مقارنة ما بين ظهور الدافودلز وما بين الأمواج في البحيرة. The daffodils were much better in dancing than the waves. يعني بيقول لي ان الدافودلز بتكون بترقص جيدا احسن من ايه افضل من امواج البحيرة. Their sight was so lovely that it filled the poet with joy and happiness. يعني منظرهم كان جميل جدا حيث انهم ملأوا الشاعر بالفرحة والبهجة. He couldn't help standing there looking for a long time at them. The sight of the daffodils would make him rich with happiness. يعني منظر هذه الزهور الجميلة تجعله ثري جدا كما لو كان شخص لديه ثروة كبيرة بالإيه من السعادة. When we paraphrase this stanza, we will say the poet holds a comparison between the daffodils and the waves in the lake. The daffodils were much better in dancing than the waves. Their sight was so lovely that it filled the poet with joy and happiness. He couldn't help standing there looking for a long time at them. The sight of the daffodils would make him rich with happiness. And now let's move to the figures of speech in stanza 3. We have here personification, and the waves beside them danced. The poet here personifies the waves as they are person dancing. Outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Glee means happiness and it's a human emotion. Flowers don't have emotions. Outdid means to have done better in some kind of competition. Flowers can't compete. We also have alliteration. And the waves beside them danced, but they. We have the same beginning sound of beside and but. What will the show to me had brought? We have also the same sound in what and will. We also have another figure of speech which is called repetition. It means repeated word or repeated verb. As the poet says here, I gazed and gazed but little thought. The word gazed is repeated twice. What is the rhyme scheme in stanza 3? The waves beside them danced, but they, so it will have letter G. Outdid the sparkling waves in glee. Glee is different from they, so it will have letter H. A poet couldn't but be gay. Gay is the same as say, the same as they, so it will take letter G. In such a jocund company. Company is like glee, so it will have letter H. I gazed and gazed, but little thought. It will have letter I. What will the show to me had brought? Brought has the same sound as thought, so it takes letter I. Now let's move to the fourth stanza. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. When we paraphrase this stanza, the poet here is alone in his house in any mood, relaxed or feeling sad and serious. يعني هو دلوقتي وحيدا في منزله، سواء يشعر بالسعادة أو يشعر بالراحة أو يشعر بالحزن أو يشعر بالجدية. The memory of the daffodils appears in his mind. يعني ذاكرة منظر الدافودلز فضلت في عقله، ظلت في عقله. He becomes completely happy when he remembers the beautiful daffodils that he saw one day. بيشعر بالسعادة عندما يتذكر منظر زهور النرجس التي رآها يوما. He feels that his heart is dancing happily with the daffodils as they danced on the day he saw them. بيشعر بالسعادة كلما تذكر منظر أو مشهد الدافودلز. Let's move to the figures of speech in stanza 4. We have here alliteration and dances with the daffodils. We have the same beginning or the same consonant D in dances and daffodils. We also have personification and dances with the daffodils. The poet's heart here is dancing with the daffodils, but only human can dance. يعني بيشبه هنا قلبه ان هو بيرقص مع زهور النرجس. طبعا الناس او الاشخاص فقط هم اللي بيستطيعوا ان هم يرقصوا، مش زهور الايه مش قلب الشاعر. We also have contrast in vacant or in pensive mood. The contrast here is in vacant and in pensive. What is the rhyme scheme in the stanza? Okay, let's move to the rhyme scheme here. For often on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood. They flash upon that inward eye, which is the place of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Okay, at the first line, we have here the word lie, so it will take letter J. Mood has another ending which is different from lie, so it will take letter K. I has the same sound as lie, so it will take letter J. Solitude, it has the same sound as mood, so it will take letter K. And then my heart with pleasure fills. Fills has another sound which is different from lie and mood and solitude, so it will take letter L. And dances with the daffodils. Daffodils had the same sound as fills, so it will take letter L. So what is the rhyme scheme here? The rhyme scheme here is J, K, J, K, L, L. Thanks a lot for listening today to my explaining about this poem. I hope you get a lot of benefits about the figures of speech and how to paraphrase and how to elicit the rhyme scheme about this poem. So this poem is called or entitled Daffodils, and it's written by a romantic poet. I hope you have some notes about this poem and know how to paraphrase and how to elicit the figures of speech. Thanks a lot.